All right, toddler moms, tell me if this sounds familiar. You've got one shoe on, coffee in your hand, and you're already late, and that's when your toddler decides it's the perfect time to battle you over the coat zipper. No, I do it myself. I'm doing it. And just like that, you've entered the morning negotiation arena with a very tiny but very determined opponent. Drop a yes in the chat if your toddler has ever turned something simple like buckling a car seat into an Olympic level showdown of wills. Hey friends, I'm Jess with Raising My Teenage Toddler, and welcome to Toddler Tip Tuesday Live. Today we're diving into how to support your strong-willed toddler's independence without spiraling into daily power struggles. So first, let's talk a little bit about why the I do it myself phase even happens. So what's going on when your toddler insists on doing everything solo by themselves even when they can't? It's not just stubbornness, it's really a bunch of different things going on inside their little bodies at once. So here's what's underneath. So the first thing is that they're craving control in a world where to them almost everything is decided for them. They want that control. They're also practicing important skills and they want to feel capable. They want to feel like they can do it. They're seeking connection, but of course, because they're toddlers, it has to be on their terms. And yes, they're developing their independence, which is good. It's what we want. But it's super frustrating when you're in a rush. And I feel like it always happens in the morning. But it's development in action, just wrapped up in meltdowns, stomping, and flung jackets sometimes. So we have a strategy we're going to talk about tonight that we had on the blog. And it is a way to kind of deal with some of these behaviors. So I call them the 5 sanity-saving tips for your strong-willed toddlers. But our number one thing is to pause before helping. So before you jump in to help them, pause and say, do you want to do it yourself? I'll stay right here if you need me. And let them have that moment. And why it works is because you're showing trust to them while keeping the door open for support. So if they need you, you're right there for them. So there's no tug of war. You're letting them do it. You're just staying right there by their side. The second thing is to check the root cause. Is it really about zipping the coat? Or is there something else going on? For example, your toddler could be overtired. Maybe they didn't sleep all. They're hungry. They could be overstimulated. They could feel rushed. If you are rushed in a flurried state, sometimes that makes them feel rushed, and that will make them dig their heels in about things like a coat zipper when that really isn't even what it's about. They're just feeling overwhelmed and rushed and can't let you know that. And excuse me, just last week this happened to me. I was rushing to get out of the house to go to a doctor's appointment, and that's when my daughter decided that she had to handle everything with her breakfast, and it turned into a chaos, total disaster, because she insisted on doing everything, and of course it was way too much, and most of her breakfast ended up on the floor. But it happens, so you have to think about where you're coming from. So if you are rushed, it's going to make them feel rushed and not good for anybody. Your third thing to think about and think through, my third tip, is to kind of shift your language. So instead of saying, you can't do that, or you're not able to do that, let me do it. Try saying to them, want to try it first, or do you want help from me? Let them kind of decide. And then you can also try you do the first part, I'll help with the tricky part. That kind of comes in handy for things like zippering, where like sometimes like they can't quite get the 2 pieces to connect. I'm trying to think of the word for the parts of the zipper, but you know what I mean, where they connect. But if you can do that first step for them, so this is kind of flip-flop, you're going to do the first step, then they can pull the zipper up. So kind of think about how you can break down some of the tasks that they're wanting to do into little mini steps, and which parts they can do and then you can do. And it kind of helps to keep their confidence intact and kind of makes them feel like they have a little bit of control without fighting you every step of the way. The fourth thing is to make sure that you're offering empowering choices. And by that I mean things that are going to make them feel like they're a part of it. So for example, like, do you want to carry your backpack or do you want me to carry your backpack? Do you want to carry your snack bag or the diaper bag? we tend to have 2 bags when we leave the house, one for her, one for my son who's a lot younger, but kind of questions like that. Should we put your shoes on first or your jacket on first? Things like that where it doesn't matter which one they choose as long as both get done. But it gives them a sense of power in a safe way, which means less resistance for you. And my 5th tip to the strategy is to just make sure that you practice these skills in moments of calm. It's a total game changer. Don't wait until you're rushing out of the house to do a quick lesson on tying your shoes or zippering your coat or any of that kind of stuff. It ends in disaster. Let them practice the tricky stuff like zippers, buttons, pouring. Like pouring out of something. Trying to think of some other ones like buckling things. Practice when you're not in a rush, when it's total downtime. And that will be a big difference for them. And then make it fun. You could even say, let's have a zipper race. Let's practice you could each have a zipper. Practicing with 2 different items. You can, for practice pouring, you can pour like a big scientist kid. For buckling, you could have the buckle bandits who practice buckling together, whatever it might be. Just kind of make it fun and make sure that you are overdoing how proud you are of them. Like, wow, you worked so hard on that buckle. High fives, whether they got it or not. Just keep reinforcing it, because the more they practice when it's like a chill, calm zone, the fewer battles you'll have when it's the crunch time, the rush time, when you're trying to get out of the house and you're already late. So, keeping all that in mind, I'm going to pull up some questions that I had, but if you have any questions for me, feel free to go ahead and drop them in the comments, and I'm just going to make sure I pull up my comments quickly so that I can see them. And then, okay, I'm going to go through the questions that I had. As you know, I always have them on the blog, and people can respond to the blog in email, or I post on social media. So I'm just going to go over some of those questions. But the first question I got back was, what if I don't have time? Let them try. And that might be the reality of the situation you're in. So what I would do is 1 minute. You can literally set a timer on your phone, because I'm sure you leave the house with your phone. We usually use the timer on the Alexas, but do 1 minute. Let them practice for 1 minute and then say, oh, all right, your time's up. Now we have to go, so we're not late. And if it's a situation, if this person, I'm not sure if they meant like practice when you're rushing out of the house or practice like sometime during the day, then maybe carve out a couple minutes like before breakfast, after breakfast, to practice these skills when it's not a time when you're rushing. So you can kind of make up some of that time during breakfast or before you're getting dressed, things like that. Just check another one. So another question I have is, what if they can't do it but won't let me? This is a good one. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier with break it into parts. So if you know they can't do it and they're insisting, they will not let you help. And some kids are just very independent like that. My daughter, our toddler, is very much like that. The best thing you can do is to really think about the tasks and break them into smaller parts. And either you start and they finish, or they start and you finish. But either way, explain that to them. Like, you could say, oh, you're going to start and do this part, and I'm going to finish, because we're a team. We do this together. You do your part and I do my part. And just kind of emphasize things like that. And over time, as they get more and more comfortable and build up those skills, you'll have less resistance. The language there of making sure they understand you're a team and doing it together, so it's not a you versus them, is huge. Just checking my question. Sorry. Okay. So the one I had was, they want to do everything. How do I set limits on this? So always offer choices with boundaries. So you could say to them, you pick your job. Are you going to zip your jacket or zip your backpack? Or are you going to carry this or carry the backpack? Whatever it might be. And then say to them, and I'm going to do the rest. Set that limit. Give them a choice to pick one of 2 objects that you're okay with them doing that are not going to make you even later. And tell them, I'm going to do the rest. And stick to it. Do not cave in. The more you cave in, the more you're extending those battles, because they're learning that they can just keep digging their heels in, and it just becomes a back and forth. So you just kind of have to set that clear boundary and stick to it. And they might get upset and tantrum the first day or 2, but they're going to realize you mean it, and they're going to get over it. Another question I had was, let's go on. Okay, so what if my toddler completely shuts down, even when I offer choices? It's okay. It happens. Happens to every toddler. There is no perfect strategy that will work 100% of the time for 100% of toddlers. But the best thing you can do is to stay calm yourself and stay connected, and just say to them, like, I see you really want to do it, and I know you really want to do it by yourself, and I'm going to stay right here in case you change your mind. And they might get to a point where they give up. And there's the whole concept, and actually this just happened in our house tonight with bath time with my son and crawling, and he was very, very frustrated, and he was getting like red in the face and very angry and like starting to like scream. And so I just like went over and stopped it. But there's the whole concept of productive struggle, and it's like, how much do you let them struggle? They need to struggle to learn, but you don't want to leave them struggling to the point of complete meltdown and overwhelm. So that's why you want to just stay calm and connected and stay right next to them, so that when you can see it really starts to fall apart, you can intervene. And sometimes they just need their space. There are times toddlers need their space. My daughter was, I need my space. I need a moment. She would say that to you, like, I need a moment. We gave her those language skills early on so she could tell you, like, she needed her space. She needed a moment. And sit there and breathe. So it happens, but work through it, stay calm, and stay close by. Another question. Okay. So my toddler gets frustrated when they can't do it and they scream and refuse help. What should I do? So very similar to the question that we just had, but acknowledge their frustration first. Like, it's hard when something doesn't work. I know it's very tough. That kind of offers them like a little bridge, I call it. Like, you're kind of giving them like a little lifeline there by acknowledging that they really did try. And it's okay. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. And then you could, after you offer that little like bridge, then you can say, do you want me to help, or do you want to take a break and then we can try again? Things like that. Someone else asked, how do we support independence without letting them take forever? Because we have schedules, we have things to do, we have work, we have places to be, right? So there are lots of, I have lots of posts on social media about this, and also there's a couple blog posts from a couple months back. But one of the best things you can do is to use a timer, a visual timer or countdown, whether it's on your phone, your Alexa. You can even use kitchen timers, the old-fashioned, like from like the old Pictionary board games, the sand timers that you flip upside down. But something visual that they can see, so that they know that when that's over, when that's done, that's it. Then next time we'll try, or we'll carve out more time tomorrow to practice, or things like that. And you can say to them, like, we have 2 minutes to try right now, but that's it. And then I'm going to step in and help you, because we have to be somewhere on time, and we can practice more tomorrow. We can practice more later. We can practice when we get home, whatever works for your schedule. But it sets a limit for them without like a surprise takeover where you're just like going in like, all right, that's enough. We're done. We're moving on, which I'm guilty of. I've done it myself, but it happens. Another question we had was, so what if I feel like I'm encouraging independence, but it always ends in meltdown? And again, this kind of spirals back to some of the other stuff that we've already like talked about a little bit, but it's okay. The more you keep doing it, the more you're going to encourage independence, and there might be meltdowns along the way. And it doesn't mean you're doing it all wrong. It just means that you're meeting your toddler where they are, and that's the best that you can do. So just stay consistent and keep practicing during those calmer moments, and the tantrums should kind of start to die down a little bit with the more practice they get. And kids are wired differently, and some kids are going to take it harder than others when they can't do things. They're going to frustrate more easily. And you know your kid best, so you're going to kind of know at what point to step in and say, like, all right, we're getting too frustrated. We're having too much of a meltdown. We're going to come back to this later. Time for one more. I'm just kind of trying to look at the time here too. All right. So last one. How can I get other caregivers? This is such a good one. How can I get other caregivers like my partner or grandmom to support independence too? This is hard. This is hard because I struggle with this. Nobody is you, and nobody's going to do things exactly the way you want things done, right? This is such a good one. But if you share, and this is not going to work 100% of the time either, especially because sometimes there's different schools of thought because generationally we're just in different places. But if you share the why behind it, you might maybe get a little bit better response. So for example, I noticed when I give her some space to try, she actually cooperates more. Say that to the person. Like, tell them that. You're almost like preemptively telling them, like, I've done this and it works, but without saying it that way. Like, I've noticed when, we use the timer for 3 minutes, that's what works best. And kind of do that. And maybe even model how you actually like do it, like without telling them, hey, come watch how I do it. Kind of make sure they're somewhat like near you and paying attention a little bit. Maybe engage them in a conversation at the same time, mom's multitasking, and see if that helps and kind of have them kind of paying attention to you, but as you're kind of modeling the strategy that you want to use during a transition, and so that way they can kind of see it in action. But I feel, this is a tough one with getting other people to kind of do it the way you want it done, because you don't want to undo everything and all that work you've been doing. So I feel you on that one. All right. And we are just about, it is 8:16, we are just about at that time, so here on the East Coast. But what I want you to do is kind of take this as like an action plan for those strong-willed toddlers for this week. And just remember to pause before stepping in. Offer one choice instead of immediately jumping in. Always let them try first. Make sure you're breaking it into those little chunks, like you can do this, I can do that. And then just make sure you celebrate their effort, no matter what, no matter how messy and tantrumy it gets. Celebrate every little win, every little success that they have. And what I want you to do is just pick one of these to focus on for the week. You don't have to do them all at once, but maybe this week just focus on pausing before you step in, because I know our mom reaction is to just immediately step in and do it. And then maybe see how it goes, and next week try adding in some choices. And just kind of build, and over time, I promise you, it will get better. And let me know how it goes. I always love hearing how different things go. You can tag me on social media. You can send me a message. You can DM me, whatever it may take. But just remember that parenting a strong-willed toddler is basically parenting on hard mode. But you got it. And just remember, every time you pause, connect, and support their independence, you are building confidence that will last for years to come, I promise. And just remember, you've got this, and your toddlers, you've got them. They've got you, and you're cheering them on, they're cheering you on, and I'm cheering all of you on, one stubborn zipper at a time. So if you found this helpful, please let me know by tagging me on Instagram, which is at raisingmyteenagetoddler.com. It also pushes out to YouTube Live. You can find me there. And let me know how it's going. And until next week, I'll see you for another Toddler Tip Tuesday. Have a great week. Bye.